All right, good morning, guys. So, we're going to go over your writing for the week. So, this week, you're writing a narrative that contains characters and details. So, this can be a real story or an imaginary story. You should break the tasks up across the week, meaning you shouldn't do it all in one day because we do want this to be a story, not just a couple paragraphs. You could use one of the books that you've been reading as a mentor story map. So, if you're stuck on how do I write a narrative, think of a book you've been reading. So, if you've been reading Harry Potter, think about how the book is structured. Who are the characters? Who are the settings? What's the problem? What's that first thing that happens? How does the author use their words, their sentences? Students may record their narration on a device, dictate, or tell their thoughts to someone they can write it for them. So now, what you've been doing is if you have a lot to write, you can use your dictate function. So remember, your dictate function is you speak and it will write it for you. So what you do is you click on Insert up here in the corner. You click on Home up here in the corner, and then you'll see this dictate function. And so what you can do is you can fill out things by just speaking. So here I'm going to put a couple blank spaces in here just to remind you. And now you click that dictate function, it's going to do writing for you. So if you have a lot to write, this is an easy way to do it. And then you'll click yes for your microphone. So this is your dictate function. You will have to go back and check. You also have to tell it when to put periods in. Period. Then you can keep talking after you say the word period. When you say that word, it will put your punctuation at the end of the sentence, period. It does get a little awkward saying period. Period. So make sure that you're putting those in or you go back and you reread it. Period. When you're done, click that dictate function and you'll see it goes back. You will have to go back and reread it or listen to it just to make sure it makes sense, but you get the idea. Alright, so now what you're going to do is your narrative can have one or more characters. We're going to fill out our story map. So this is just your ideas. So what's the title of your story? Well, the title of my story is going to be The Child, and since it's a title, I need a capital. The Child Who Ate Too Much Ice Cream. It's actually going to be about my son Luke because that's what he was doing yesterday. So who's the author? Well, this is an original story, so it's not one that I'm basing off of anything, so it's going to be Brandon Wimbley. And then setting, where does it take place? It takes place at my house. And since these are just my notes, they don't need to be complete sentences. They can just be a list. It takes place at my house. And I'm going to put my so I know which house it is. It takes place at the park. And it also takes place specifically in the kitchen. Alright, who are the characters? Well, the characters are Mr. Wimbley, my wife Amanda, my son Luke, and my dog Kronk. And then check to make sure you have all those spellings done. And what's the problem? Well, the problem was my son enjoys lots of food. He recently discovered ice cream, which he loves a little too much. So that's my problem, and his love for ice cream, we're going to find out, is going to be the big problem. So what's the event? Well, the event was the first thing we happened. We went on a picnic at the park and brought Luke. Oops, that was my next thing. So while we were at the park, the ice cream truck came by. So this is the second thing that happens in the story. And then what happened while the ice cream truck was passing by? Luke was able to get and taste his very first ice cream cone. And then what happened? So this is my next part. He ate it all up. And from then on, that's all he wanted. And then what did he do? He screamed and threw tantrums for about 2 hours because he wanted more. So remember, your event 1 is what's the first thing that happens? Event 2 is what's the next thing? And then event 3, what's the third thing? So what's the solution? The solution was that we were bad parents and we bought him more ice cream. So my wife and I were bad parents and we bought him more ice cream when the truck came by our house later that day. And conclusion, well, how does the story wrap up? My wife and I were up all night with a sick kid who ate too much sugar. So now, when I write my actual story, I'm going to be using these events. So here, let's get our first paragraph done, and then I'll let you guys go. So I'm going to use my dictate function, and then I'm just going to go back and reread it. And I can stop whenever I want, reread. I can do 1 paragraph a day. It's my choice. It was such a beautiful day outside at the park, period. The sun was beating down on us. There were wispy clouds in the air, and a light breeze was blowing through the trees, period. This was the perfect day for a picnic, period. My wife and I wanted it to be the best day ever for our son, as it was his first picnic, period. And what better than having ice cream on your first picnic, period. So now I'm going to go to my next paragraph. So this doesn't do paragraphs with the dictate function. So I had to stop it, hit enter. And now I'm good with the next one. My wife and I knew that this park was on the ice cream truck's route every day at about 12 o'clock. Period. We decided that we would start eating our regular lunch and then surprise Luke, our son, with the ice cream when we heard the truck's music playing through the air, period. We pulled out some roasted chicken, comma, some salad, comma, and some strawberries that had been soaked in sugar overnight, period. New paragraph. New paragraph. So apparently you can do a new paragraph by just saying new paragraph. You'll notice here though, when I said period, it wrote the word period instead of putting a period in. So that's why you always have to go back and reread. Now, that's the end of it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or send me a Class Dojo message, email, text, or some other way. I'll talk to you guys later.